All right, I'm here with Melanie of Glaze Craft Windows, and today we're going to talk about her process of stripping a sash of paint and glaze. So what we have here is a sash that held 3 different pieces of glass. So it has a lot of things to work on. And here we have, you want to point out the rabbets? So the rabbets are where the glass sits, and there's often a lot of old glaze in there. And then on the back side, we have the profiles. And these have a lot of detail in them. So, as Melanie is a professional here, we'd like to get her perspective on this. So what's your process? Why don't you walk us through it?
I use a combination of infrared heat and my HEPA vac and some dry scraping to remove all of the paint and the putty. So I can get this down to nearly bare wood before I then sand, and then I start to reinstate a new paint system.
So as a professional, why do you take it to the bare wood?
Because after 100 or so years, which a lot of these windows are, this one's about 100 years old, they have 20 plus layers of paint on them sometimes, and the top layers of paint are often acrylic paint. And because I want to reinstate linseed oil paints, I want to get back to the wood as much as I can. That makes the linseed paint work its best.
Okay. And probably good to take it to wood no matter what.
Well, yeah, and if you look at how many layers of paint there are in this, you can hardly see the detail of the profiles anymore. Yeah. At some points, this paint is more than a 1/4 inch thick.
Yeah, you can really see kind of how thick it is over here.
So it sticks, the window gets stuck in the frame, and then because it's acrylic paint, it also gets sticky. It's trapping water and moisture behind there in the wood. So it's just a good idea to get it off and start.
And what is this over here? This metal thing?
This is part of the zinc weather stripping system. This is a top sash. So the bottom sash has a similar piece that just slips into this bit, and it keeps the airflow down.
Nice. Okay. Well, you want to go over your first steps?
Yes. So I go through this in a very systemic way. I begin, I want to try to avoid, because I'm using infrared heat, I want to try to avoid charring the actual wood. So, as long as there's paint on the wood, the infrared won't char. But the infrared system heats up from underneath, and the paint will release from the wood underneath these many layers, and then I scrape it off quite easily. So I always start on the exterior, and I hit the flats, so these larger pieces here, and the tops of the muntins, which is this piece that separates the panes of glass, and then this part of the rabbet. So once I've done that...
And that part is where the glass actually sits.
Yeah, so the rabbet, the glass sits in here. So I'll remove all of this extra putty paint so that when I return the glass, it sits flat. Sits flat, yeah.
So, question. Does anyone in the Windows trade actually know where the name rabbets came from?
It's a carpentry term.
Oh, okay.
It's just that particular cut. It's a 90-degree.
I've always thought it's a funny name.
Yeah. So. Well, it's not spelled like the animal rabbit.
Oh.
It's R-A-B-B-E-T.
Oh, well, everyone, I didn't know that.
Okay, so once I have done the flats on the exteriors,
all right,
then I flip it over and I get all of the paint off of the profiles. And this is a much more time-consuming process because it's really important that you don't scar up the wood while you're scraping it off. And the infrared really helps with that because it loosens the paint so that you use your various scrapers and it just comes right off smoothly.
All right.
So then I'll do the profiles like this, and then I put it flat again. And then I do the flats on the interior.
Do you want to show us a sash that was just done?
Yeah. There is one that's been recently finished. So this hasn't been sanded yet, so there's still some remnants of old paint.
So you can see with the infrared and scraping how clean you can get it. It's pretty amazing. And note that this is all old growth wood, which is really neat to see. You can see over here how tiny the growth rings are, indicating old growth, and it's 100 years old. So.
And then you can see on this side, this is the exterior where the glass is going to go back in. And I've gotten most of the goop, the old putty, out of the corners, enough that the glass will sit flat again.
Very clean. So, okay, so to summarize, You do the outside flats first.
Outside flats first.
Outside flats first. That's the flat parts.
And
then
turn
you
it
do
over.
the rabbets.
And then I do the profiles.
And then you do the profiles.
On the inside.
And then the flats on the
And the
outside.
flats on the inside.
Yep. And then you get all the little corners and everything to finish off.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I'll follow up with sanding.
Cool. How long does that take you to do? 12 hours?
A lady never tells.
No, I'm just kidding. No, for the audience, it takes a little while, but it's not
It's a
forever.
pretty time-consuming process.
Yeah, if you want to go all the way and do it perfect. All right, well, thanks for telling us all this.